Did you ever wonder what happens when a leader keeps going long past their peak, not out of ambition, but out of fear that stepping aside might cause even more damage? Imagine a lion in winter, majestic yet frail, surrounded by people too loyal or too fearful to say, "It's time." That image anchors what Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson call the original sin of the 2024 election. They argue that the choice of Joe Biden to run for re-election and the efforts to conceal his decline set in motion a tragic unraveling that led directly to Donald Trump's return. In their book Original Sin, Tapper, a longtime CNN anchor, and Thompson, an Axios political reporter, peel back the layers of a hidden story. Based on more than 200 interviews conducted after the election, the book reconstructs how Biden's cognitive and physical deterioration was increasingly obvious to insiders by at least 2022, but how his inner circle, the media, and even himself turned a blind eye to it. That makes the book important and relevant today because it challenges how we understand leadership, honesty, aging, and institutional responsibility. In one or two sentences, the core argument is that Biden's decision to run again, knowing he was declining, was the original sin that led to a campaign of denial, gaslighting, and ultimately a profound political failure. The first key idea is that signs of decline emerged years before the decisive debate in 2024. Citing recollections from Democrats, the book shows that Biden began having word-finding issues and moments of disorientation as early as 2019 and 2022. In one anecdote, during an Iowa campaign prep in December 2019, he struggled to remember the name of his longtime aide Mike Denelon, even though they had worked together for decades. That moment was dismissed as a normal gaffe, but in hindsight, it was an early warning signal. The reflection this suggests to each of us is simple. When respected people close to a leader whisper concerns, maybe those whispers deserve attention. We all have relationships that deserve honesty, even when discomfort is hard. Continuing that thread, the book's second major insight is that Biden's closest advisors formed what insiders called a Politburo, his inner circle including Mike Denelon, Steve Ricchetti, Bruce Reed, and Ron Klain, who managed his schedule, edited video to hide his slow gait, and minimized public exposure to avoid raising alarm. These aides shaped a cocoon around Biden, reshaping perceptions. It's like wrapping someone in layers of cotton wool, safe but distant. The moral of that story: when loyalty becomes shielding from reality, it becomes complicity. In our own lives, that might show up if friends filter feedback or dodge difficult truths, even when it matters. Then the third idea. There was widespread denial, not just from aides, but from much of the Democratic Party and media. Despite polls showing voters wanted someone else, party elites backed Biden anyway because they viewed him as the only chance to beat Trump. The book is explicit. Many insiders rationalized the decline, reasoning that even a diminished Biden was preferable to risk Trump again. That was a strategic lie, as if someone chose to drive on a broken bridge anyway because the other side might be worse. The takeaway: fear can distort judgment more than damage itself. Next, the fourth critical point is that debate night was the cataclysm. On June 27, 2024, when Biden stumbled, stared blankly, gaffed repeatedly, the facade fell apart in real time. Tapper himself, as one of the debate moderators, witnessed it. Producer Dana Bash scribbled a note: "He just lost the election." Audiences recoiled, and many insiders later said they weren't shocked, they had seen worse behind closed doors. That moment turned denial into public truth. For our lives, that suggests sometimes systems crumble not because of secrets, but because someone finally refuses to conceal them. Then the fifth lesson. Although Biden withdrew soon after, endorsing Kamala Harris, her candidacy was too late to salvage momentum. She had only 107 days to campaign and lacked the groundwork to shift momentum. Democrats lost both the popular vote and the Electoral College. Trump returned. The point Tapper and Thompson make is that the original sin wasn't failing to protect Biden. It was allowing him to continue so long that the contingency plan had no time to succeed. It's like waiting until a ship is sinking before prepping the lifeboats. Finally, the book explores broader implications. It suggests this saga reflects systemic failures in the Democratic Party and media. Reviewers compare Biden's tragedy to Shakespeare's King Lear, a powerful figure overwhelmed by age and surrounded by flatterers who shield him from the truth. Tapper, in particular, acknowledges regret and responsibility for not reporting harder on the widening concerns earlier. And critics argue that this moment demands a reckoning within institutions about age, transparency, journalistic consistency, and accountability. Reflect on that. What deceptions are we letting stand in our spheres because no one wants to rock the boat? Smoothly connecting these ideas, we arrive at a powerful conclusion. The original sin in this story was not a single event, but a chain of decisions from denying the signs to insulating the leader to waiting too long to change course that turned personal decline into national consequence. So let's recap the emotional core. From 2019 to 2022, hints of problems were ignored. In 2023 to 2024, AIDS isolated Biden in a protective bubble. Anxiety of fear of Trump fueled denial across Democratic ranks. The trigger event, the disastrous debate, shattered illusions, but by then it was too late. Kamala couldn't reverse momentum, and now Trump returns to power. Democrats pay a heavy price. If there's a takeaway for you, it's this. Confront reality early, even when it hurts. Create space for honest feedback. Don't let loyalty become a barrier to truth. And if a leader falters, don't hesitate to let new light in before the entire structure collapses. Thank you for listening. If any of this resonates with you, maybe you've seen a coworker limping forward or a friend ignoring signs you tried to share, perhaps this story can help you think differently. That's why Tapper and Thompson's book matters, not just as politics, but as a lesson in leadership, aging, courage, and accountability. Imagine going back to that line in winter. Had someone said clearly, it's time, at an earlier moment, the winter might have ended with dignity, not ruin. Sometimes the hardest act of care is the honest conversation we avoid. If you found this summary helpful, emotional, or thought-provoking, please consider picking up the full book Original Sin by Tapper and Alex Thompson. Share your reflections in the comments below. And if you'd like more long-form summaries like this, hit subscribe and dive into the stories behind history and leadership.